that the water district has gotten together with a native plant society group and done a native plant set where people are beginning to make the connection. I think that's a huge step forward. I think we'll get a chance to melt that a little bit, but I think it's a very positive thing that happened.
All right. Was there any public discussion about this item? Anything further from the board? Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a motion in a second?
Yes, we do.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, item 5F, review and acceptance of fiscal year 2013-14 third quarter investment report. Patricia?
And this is a lot of fun because I'm not up, but I want to make sure that everyone has an introduction to Patty Richardson, our auditor controller. And I think this is her first formal board presentation.
Yes, it is.
Don't be nervous, we're real easy.
This cash and investment report is for the third quarter of fiscal year 13-14 and covers the period of January through March 31st. And it shows the balances as of 12/31 and 3/31 and their respective changes. We had a $2 million increase in cash, and that's primarily from the Calaveras County property tax disbursement. We had some investment earnings that was transferred to Lane, and we also had a grant reimbursement. And subsequently, the $2 million was transferred to the Lake County. We had investment earnings of $132,762. And in March, we had a Cedars that matured, and we reinvested it for 52 weeks at almost 0.7%. And then fast forwarding to the fourth quarter, we had a Cedars mature in April, and we also reinvested that for 52 weeks. And we had another CD mature in May. The loan proceeds from the capital R&R loan were transferred to Lake, and will be transferred back to the district when the funds are needed. And the economy is still slow to recover, and we don't anticipate any changes in interest rates through the end of this year.
Well, at least there isn't a negative sign in front of the 0.69. We're far away from that.
Yes.
Were we affected at all by teeter from the county, as far as taxes are concerned?
There really hasn't been a change compared to last year. Like saying the first payment for this fiscal year, there really hasn't been a change.
Are they indicating that there will be in the future?
I haven't heard anything indicate that.
Okay.
This was the first property tax payment, is that correct?
I'm sorry?
The first property tax payment?
Yes,
Do you have any sense of what the second payment will be?
it will be less.
Well, yeah.
It's
But I'm just curious, I mean, I forgot what it was when things were good, but I know it was.
It should be similar to the same time last year, the second payment. There really shouldn't be much of a change. We had 1.5 million come in for the property tax. That includes the assessment districts for the first payment. And I want to say that the second one will probably be around 800,000 in total.
One other question, sure. Maybe Jeff, you can answer this, or Patty, either one. What's the status of Lemon Brothers?
We did receive another payment from them this past month in April. And it was $70,000. So they're slowly paying us.
So this 338,000 reflects the $70,000 extension?
No,
It doesn't, so now we've gotten about 400,000, so we've recovered about a third of what we had invested. Any anticipation of additional money, or you just don't know?
we don't know. It comes in when they're dispersed.
Well, this item is a review and acceptance. Is there a motion for acceptance?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. The motion is second. Do you have a comment?
No.
Any comment from the public? Yes, sir.
I couldn't make all those notes fast enough. Is there any possibility of getting a written report of that that could be distributed, because I know there are other people out there that would like to see that?
So,
Okay, anything further? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 401.
Jeff, can I raise a question? Is it possible at some point in time, maybe on a quarterly basis as opposed to the semi-annual report, to see what our reserve funds are?
Absolutely. We'd like you to, probably, we're talking about trying to bring more of that quarterly summary of.
Yeah, I would like to see it, especially since we're putting out so much capital.
And that would be useful.
Okay, item 5G, discussion action regarding approval authorization of professional contract for enhanced Stanislaus River modeling. Mr. Diamond in the building? Mr. Diamond is not in the building. Ultimately, we are looking at trying to create a model for Stanislaus that is comprehensive enough in order to make some professional engineering judgments, ultimately to determine whose water is going where, when, what the returns might be, to consider some other options for water sales that potentially could be available, or transfers during various years. And so ultimately, having a comprehensive model that is at least consistent with what NCPA uses and the tri-down people seems to make a lot of sense, in addition to looking forward to addressing any other watershed questions that may be coming up in the future. So this is a core document in order to help create that understanding of the river.
Also move, but I do have some questions.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Director Stump?
I see that this kind of hinges on doing it really, really well, that we have participation in NCPA and tri-down. And I see NCPA is in the room. I'm just curious if Randy, do you have any comments on this?
Mitch hasn't talked at great length about it, but in general, NCPA is not opposed to having a great overall model of the Stanislaus River Basin. The actions being contemplated that might be based upon a model, water transfers and the like, we certainly would want to have a seat at the table when those were being discussed, but we have no opposition to a modeling effort.
Thank you.
How about a seat at the table when we write the check?
I don't think we have any nor do we see any benefit at this point in time for NCPA from that effort.
So this small flow is going into the Maloney's at that point, correct?
It actually will include those tri-dam flows below Tulloch as well. So we're going to have those components at least. There won't be a model, but the input from the tri-dams will be our model, yes. So it could actually answer questions beyond the norms. Okay. Or at least frame them up for worst case, best case.
Is there any inflow that the tri-dam gets that doesn't come from the Maloney's?
I think there's a couple small tributaries that Tulloch.
Nothing of any great moment.
Nothing insignificant.
I think Black.
What, I think you touched on it, but we've done an awful lot of studies in the past. And is this one going to cover new ground, or are we replowing the same field?
This one was actually a vision of the elder Mr. Myers some years ago that never was done. And ultimately, it was looking at the whole watershed a little bit more comprehensively and then using current tools. To be frank, there's some of this information is going to be coming from those older studies, absolutely. But this is what brings them together, and we utilize consistent data from all the contributors or all the affected folks on the river. So this is a new study. it certainly is built upon some of those older studies that were done by Mr. Myers.
Thank you.
All right, is there anything further from the board? Does the public have any comment regarding this agenda item? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 401. Item 5H, discussion action regarding implementing payroll timesheets HRIS system. Stacy.
Morning. Back in fall 2012, I came to you asking to outsource payroll, and we outsourced through Paychecks. They, when we go sign the contract, we had some issues with the contract, and we did not sign that. So we came back to the board in January of 2013, and we decided to go with payroll people for our payroll outsourcing. As we started the implementation, what they had promised us failed to be true, and we did not move forward with the payroll processing. We did, however, keep the electronic timekeeping, timesheet portion of the program, and have been using that since, I believe, March of 2013. We're a little frustrated at that point, so it kind of gave up for a little bit. And then I started to look into a more robust system that not only included a timesheet payroll, but also an HRIS system. In addition to that, I did a lot of research and found that there were several companies that could offer that and much more with the system. I'm here today to request authorization for implementing the ADP Workforce Now program. It's a web-based program that will also work as our company's intranet, where employees can go and receive district-wide communication. We'll have access to files, to documents that they use from an HR basis, from a payroll basis. Additionally, it'll be one system, so we don't have to make a change in the HRS system and a change in the payroll system. It'll all flow together. It will create workflow efficiencies and will assist in our fiscal goals of implementing a district-wide communication system for employees, workflow efficiency, and will provide us a reporting tool for data gathering.
Good.
Do we know anybody else that's using this ADP?
Yes, I've contacted several districts, and of course, they're going to give me the people that are happy with the system. Somebody who's not happy with the system, so everybody is happy. The system is really robust. There's a lot of things to it, so not everybody's using every component, but it's definitely had a favorable response.
Do they have a history of keeping up as the laws change?
Yes.
Does the cost, the monthly cost or whatever, or startup cost include all of the items in the robust system, or will that incur additional cost?
No, the startup cost is to get everything in, to get our MOU rules in, the way that we conduct our payroll and our rules that are surrounded around that. That keeps up. The monthly cost will provide any upgrades that are happening to the system. There will be no additional cost.
So essentially what we're doing is we're buying into the system, there's no platinum package or anything like that.
Correct.
Okay. I guess the other question I have is, when you look at the cost, the monthly cost, it works out, I think we use the basis of 63 employees as your baseline. It comes out to about $165 a month. Have you ever calculated the cost of doing it in-house? Exclusive of the advantages or disadvantages of doing it. I'm just looking at pure dollars now.
Doing what in-house?
Well, just doing the payroll instead of
I think it's
putting it up
$165 a year.
per employee.
Right.
Right.
Not
I'm sorry, I take that back. Have you ever figured out what the cost was?
No.
We actually have done some swags at that, because ultimately that's a basic question, that it's far cheaper to do it this way than to have additional bodies taking time to go about, because this would be a partial body. And so it's a matter of trying to figure out what other opportunities or cost efficiency to do this.
I mean, I would agree that if there's additional services that come with the system, over and above what we're capable of doing, by all means, we need to have it.
And that's really one of the key things that we're looking forward to this in terms of improving some internal communications, because this will give us the ability to actually have an intranet site for our employees and board members to communicate internally and get communications out to previously that we can't get them to flow smoothly. So,
Does that come with ground active devices as well?
ultimately, you'll continue to get your Brown Act training as required. The communications amongst the employees, though, and just having shared access to the employees' type of files and forms and dealing with the various district-wide events that are happening, making people aware of what's going on within the district.
Just one question, looking at all the checkoff marks for ADP and Paycor, they're all checked off the same. Is there a reason why you picked ADP over Paycor?
Yes, the usability of it, the friendliness of it is, ADP is much more friendlier looking at it. It looks like more like a Windows-based program. It's more intuitive for employees. We actually did share, we didn't show Paycor, but we showed Kronos and ADP. We had demo sites. We showed it to both groups, and everybody preferred ADP hands down.
Okay, I noticed that the cost was more, and about $2,000 difference. That's $2,000.
ADP had improved functionality that was more intuitive to the user groups. So we did have a couple of work groups look at all these, and ultimately this is the kind of process, the program that those committees were looking for.
Well, I'm not always a proponent of taking the cheapest one, but I just wanted to hear that you had considered the cheaper one and chose the ADP. Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the public? All the board members, yeah, I'm sorry.
You do not have a motion, I said.
Oh, we don't, I thought.
I'll move first.
We have a motion by Director Stomp,
And second.
second by Director Dean. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 401. Okay, committee reports. Do we have any committee reports today? Seeing none, legislative update.
If the directors participated on their various committees, pick those up in their director's reports. I provided a legislative summary from Federal Affairs of Aqua as well as the CSDA state legislative. In reality, I think most of you up to speed because of participation in Aqua last week. But again, you'll see the summary of the water bond. And again, there's two bills moving forward that have the water bonds, kind of the Aqua support, and I circled those onto your report as well. So unless there's any other questions, that's kind of what's happening in the world of the state and federal legislature.
Okay, big health issues. Are there any big health issues to discuss?
I have one comment. Something that I found maybe distressing is early on with Bay Delta, we were always told that DWR was going to have their hand on the valves in terms of what's going down south, whereas in times are not. And yesterday, I think DWR came out and said, this is going to turn into kind of a CCWD project. And that kind of changes the role of how, who's controlling the project and in turn who controls the water. it's not hugely dramatic, but I think it's more of an indication that things are changing in order to fit the needs of the players that are paying for things. So it's not going to have any direct effect on us that I'm aware of, but it is a change.
I think there's an article on the record today about that taking a role in design and another agency.
Director Stump, that's a great cue because ultimately it's very significant change. There was an article yesterday in the B and other articles. Ultimately, as we move forward, though, the idea that the people that are paying for it are actually going to be controlling the valve, I think that's a bit of a fallacy, ultimately, because all the mitigation measures that are going to happen because of any kind of project are still going to fall into the general obligations of the bond. And so while the direct plumbing costs will be the user merit, a lot of the indirect costs will be tucked around in various places. And we have to stay acutely aware of the idea that there's a very unpopular but persistent utility tax, statewide utility tax that may be coming to bear, because 2 years ago when they first started talking about giving the state water contractors control of the project, that was part and parcel of that kind of approach.
Sounds to me like we're always supporting something that's continually changing.
Yes, sir, adaptive management cuts 2 ways.
All right, we'll move on to reports. General manager report?
I've got a couple items here on the slide presentations, and consistent with what we've been trying to do, and now that we have our financing in place, we're going to probably be changing this up as we identified earlier to a more robust quarterly report. Oops, sorry. Up above, you'll see the water capital. This is again being consistent with reporting out what monies, what revenues have come out as a result of the rate increase that went into effect in September. So we started collecting these monies mostly in November and December. On the water side, although it looks like there's $883,000, the reality is we have approximately $700,000 in obligations against that money already. So in order to make those obligations, we had to have the funds come in. So these are tied up mostly in design contracts, but in some cases we have moved forward with a few things getting them done, such as the clear well. The genuine ozone generator has now arrived. It's awaiting installation, and so we're moving forward with the rest of these programs. And so ultimately, as we go forward, a couple of key projects may move into construction this summer, may move into the bid this summer, which could be the Techite water line replacement. And hopefully we might get the award of that in time for a fall construction season. But we have numerous projects in design now. Reach 3A, the Big Tree 60K tank, of course, you just approved that today. We've got the Reach 1 work design commencing. So ultimately, there's a lot of things starting to come together as we move this project forward. We have a 3-year program, and we've concentrated the first 2 years in the last 8 months. And that's been a pretty busy pack to get this much work moving out the door. So that's where we're sitting on water. Wastewater is a little bit different story. Wastewater, actually, as it turns out, we are falling behind. We were only able to fall behind was because some of the work that was being done specifically for Poker Flat lift stations 9, 10, 11 was being done with in-house forces. So it wasn't as if we had an outstanding obligation that we couldn't meet. But ultimately, lift stations 9, 10, 11 are nearly done. Bill Purley, in fact, is meeting with the HOA there to talk about the final steps in lift station 11. So that's occurring right now. And then we're moving forward with the other projects as we talked about today. And so as we deal with the BIB type of strategy, we can continue to move on the wastewater program. But again, this is the R&R money specifically within the capital improvement program that we looked at with the rate increase. So we continue to report that out every month. This picture keeps continuing to get old, it doesn't change much, but it is a very stark reminder that we live in the arid West, and that in California we experience a drought every year, which is called summer. And so this prolonged drought for the next 3 months is not anything out of the ordinary in terms of weather patterns, but back to the climate issues, it is very severe and challenging time for the state. Take a quick look at the reservoir levels. These are the major reservoir levels. So we'll take a quick peek. Here's what New Hope looks like right now. Sitting just under that 100-foot level. Hasn't started to decline too rapidly yet, but that's where it's at. New Maloney's I throw up here just because it's more typical of what's happening on the other major reservoirs within the state. They are starting to draw, and you'll start to see those declines. So, wanted to give you a different look at the drought severity, and this is a different kind of index that we're not used to seeing. But ultimately, as we look at this is a more traditional look of the severity of the drought, and as it plays out, I think it's notable to see how the southwest compares to the northwest, and that northwest key piece, particularly in the upper reaches of the Colorado watershed, were huge because the folks in Southern California that get about half their water from the Colorado system, at least in the upper Colorado reaches, had a slightly above normal year for total precipitation. So that's a big deal. Because without that, certainly the panic button will be pushed as opposed to the high level of caution that we're in. This is a different way to look at the drought. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just going back to that last map, please. In showing the above normal snowpack rainfall, whatever we will call it, in the upper Colorado, given the fact that so many of those reservoirs are low, are they going to be holding any of that water back, or are they going to let it flow through to meet the consumptive needs?
When you look at the terms and conditions of the governance documents in Colorado River, it's a pretty complex system.
That's why I'm asking.
The reality is that they're going to do everything possible to keep need from falling below the 1084, 1085 level. Because once that happens, then the allocations kick in, and that becomes really, really painful for both Nevada and Arizona. And so ultimately maintaining need at the level above 1084, I believe, is a crucial determining factor. So all efforts will be made to maintain need at that level, regardless of the size of the rest of the system.
So don't let the water run out of the upper system.
Absolutely. Now, with regard to both Reed and Powell, they both hold a little bit, about 26 million acre feet. They're both about half full right now, or half empty, depending on how you want to look at the bathtub rim. But each one of those reservoirs will lose 3/4 million acre feet to evaporation each year. So ultimately, the Colorado system remains very challenged once they start to allow waters to flow south.
Thank you.
Soils are, of course, my favorite topic, and this is what we have to look at. This is where the tire meets the road in terms of communicating the drought, as far as I'm concerned, of what's happening in our soil moisture content, because this will drive everything and every other decision related to not only ag, but wildfires and every other major decision. So again, you see that those very dark, deep colored areas, and that's a real concern. And so ultimately, as we deal with the soil moisture index, this is the better matrix as opposed to some of the other photos or some of the other snapshots that have been prepared. Brief report on our recruitments. Our human resources tech, we have an anticipated start date for our human resources tech. Our water resources program manager recruitment is open. Our district engineer recruitment is open. And what we're going to do for our vacancy in customer service is still under review by our brand new community relations customer service manager, Joel Metzger. I did want to talk about some other activities. Here's for your calendars. Very important meeting for, I think it's a significant meeting for Mountain Counties in the Water Commission on 21 May. The Mountain County Water Resource Association, Aqua Region 3 meeting 6 June.